And now let's see what our guests think. Katrina, you wrote about this just today on FoxNews.com.
I did. I wrote about it today because it's something that is close to me. It's personal. Occasionally in politics, you come across a policy that actually means something to you, and this happens to be one of them. Being a woman of color, born to a teenage single mother, growing up in poverty, somehow navigating my way through this government-imposed learned helplessness community, managed to be the first to graduate from college and broke the poverty cycle in my family. And it was because I had access to people who actually cared and offered tools and resources so I could make better decisions for my life. Everyone deserves that chance. You have people today, and don't get me wrong, we have the best system in the world. It is the best. However, I don't think anyone can say with a straight face that justice is blind or that justice is handed out evenly in this country. But that should be our goal, and I think that this act gets us a little bit closer to it.
So Tammy, I think you might disagree.
Well, overall, justice reform for me has been a big issue, and a bit of people have touched on this when it comes to the issue of people who do plea deals because they've got a public defender who's got 1,000 other clients, and they just want to move you through the system, and so you plead something that you actually didn't do, and that's, of course, affects the disenfranchised and the poor. So when I think criminal justice reform, I think justice reform, especially when we're not dealing with criminals who get stuck within that framework and who don't get justice. The problem with this bill is what the president said it would do: it make communities safer and get justice for people who are languishing in prison who shouldn't be there. We saw an example of that with Kanye West and Kim at the White House with a woman who was involved in some kind of a drug deal, sentenced to life in prison, right? And that's the only crime she committed. Americans realized that that was inappropriate. This bill, however, in moving from the House to the Senate, changed. And it changed to include retroactive sentencing changes to where people would be let out automatically. And it created one dynamic of specifics about who would be blocked from that, but not include people involved in domestic violence, strangling your spouse, assaults with deadly weapons, prison breaks, drug trafficking, holding immigration papers to keep people in slavery so that they can't escape. So if we are going to be releasing those people or giving them an easier time to get out of prison, they're going to go right back to the community.
Nobody who'd be
making those communities even more dangerous.
I agree with you completely. I don't think any Republican anyway wants to support a bill that's going to let violent criminals back out on the streets. And there are 52 categories of violent crimes that would make you ineligible to get any benefit from these sentencing reforms. Here's the fact: we just got to deal with reality. And I know all of us want to do that. 95% of these people who are in federal prisons, they're coming out. And they're either going to come out with more skills, they're going to come out living closer to...
the first bill was about that. It was about skills and all of that, which we all agree with.
Let me keep rolling on this, because I do think that the Senate bolted on some of these changes. But let's get back to the fundamental. People are coming out of prison. And if they come out needing to immediately be dependent on the federal government or somebody, again, because they don't have the skills, because they haven't bonded with the constructive family relationships that they could have had. If we don't treat women with decency, pregnant women in prison, and don't shackle them and treat in almost barbaric conditions.
But that's not this bill, though.
Yes, it is this
Matt,
bill.
But it includes this other aspect.
Let me just finish.
It needs to change, is my point.
Let me finish. So that is the fundamental thrust of the bill. And that's why they call it the First Step Act, because it's understanding the government gets many things wrong. You know what the government also gets wrong? The government also gets wrong its approach to federal prisons. And we need huge reforms. This is just the first step. There are many more. And I'll tell you, next step we need reining in crazy prosecutors that have the power to destroy anybody they want. That might need to be the second step.
I just want to leave it there.
Can I add one more thing to Matt's point about there are 50 offenses that make you completely ineligible. Every other case after that, there's not this broad open, let's open the doors and let the criminals out. There's a case-by-case basis that these people are looked at, and individual reforms are determined whether or not they can be released.
Let's just say that we know this bill changed, and making more changes would be appropriate, and we can get to where we need to be.
The thing that I'm really fed up about is that McConnell doesn't look like he's interested in that at all. He just wants to block it. Right.
I don't know if that's right.
Well, come on, then show us that it's wrong, Mitch McConnell.
That's a fair.
Coming up, if you